Welcome back to another episode of Untangling the Wires of Philosophy. Today, we are stepping into the danger zone of logical modality. We are talking about those two little words that cause more headaches than any others necessarily and possibly. Now, usually, when you say something is possible, you just mean you are not sure. Like I might say, possibly it will rain, which just means I do not know if it will rain, but I would not bet against it. And when you say necessarily, you usually mean something like, I am determined to make this happen, or this follows from what we just said. But philosophers and logicians have created a special playground called modal logic, where these words mean something much more intense. In this world, necessarily means true in all possible worlds. It is an absolute mode of truth, unconditional and impersonal. The modern version of this was kickstarted by C.I. Lewis in 1918 because he was annoyed with how Bertrand Russell defined implication. Russell said, if P then Q is true, as long as P is not true while Q is false. Lewis said, that is too weak. We need a strict implication. We need to say that implies Q necessarily. So he introduced a symbol for necessity. Later, Rudolf Carnap sharpened this up by saying that a necessary sentence is one that is analytic, meaning it is true by definition or by virtue of language rules alone. Like all bachelors are unmarried. Now, Quine looks at this and says, hold on a minute. If necessity just means analytic, then why do we need a special logic for it? Why not just say the sentence, quote, 9 is greater than 4, unquote, is analytic? Why do we need to put a spooky operator in front of the sentence itself? The reason usually given is that we want to be able to quantify into these positions. We want to say there is a number x such that necessarily x is greater than 4. But this is where the trap snaps shut. Quine famously argues that quantifying into a modal context is a disaster because of opacity. Remember, opacity from our previous talks. It is when you cannot swap equal terms without changing the truth of the sentence. Let's look at the number 9. Necessarily, 9 is greater than 4. True, right? Now, consider the fact that the number of major planets is 9. So, we should be able to swap them. Necessarily, the number of major planets is greater than 4. Wait, is that necessary? No. The solar system could have had 3 planets. It is just a cosmic accident that it has 9. So, the substitution fails. This proves that the position inside the necessity operator is opaque. It is like a force field that stops logical substitution. Now you might say, well, let's just ban objects that cause trouble. Let's only talk about objects that are defined so strictly that this does not happen. But Quine shows that if you try to fix this by forcing all specifications of an object to be necessarily equivalent, you end up destroying modal logic entirely. You prove that everything is necessary. If it is true that the sky is blue, then it becomes necessary that the sky is blue. The whole distinction between necessary and contingent collapses. Modal logic essentially eats itself. Some logicians, like Rothbard and Marcus, tried to make this work by allowing unrestricted quantification, but Quine thinks this commits us to a weird form of essentialism. Essentialism is the idea that an object has some traits that are necessary to it and others that are just accidental. Imagine a mathematician who is also a cyclist. As a mathematician, he is necessarily rational. As a cyclist, he is necessarily two-legged. But is this person necessarily rational or just accidentally rational? Is he necessarily two-legged or just accidentally two-legged? If we just look at him as a concrete object in the world, it makes no sense to say some of his traits are glued to him necessarily, and others are just sticking to him contingently. He just is what he is. Putting a necessity sticker on some of his attributes is a philosophical invention. It goes back to Aristotle's distinction between essence and accident, but Quine thinks it is indefensible in modern logic. It creates a metaphysical mess. If we say x is necessarily greater than 4 of the number 9, we are treating necessity like a property of the number itself, rather than a property of how we describe it. This leads to baffling questions about what is essential to an object. Quine's advice is basically to stay away from this mess. We can have the notion of analyticity without building a whole modal logic on top of it. We can say sentences are analytic without committing to a universe where objects have mystical, essential properties. Necessity should belong to sentences and how we use words, not to the things themselves. So, when you hear someone talking about possible worlds or necessary beings, be very careful. They might be smuggling in a lot of questionable metaphysics. Quine is guiding us toward a cleaner, more extensional world where a spade is a spade, and we do not have to worry about whether it is necessarily a spade. In the next section, he is going to suggest we go even further and maybe get rid of intentional objects altogether. That means saying goodbye to propositions, attributes, and maybe even meanings as things. But for now, the lesson is clear. Modality is a minefield. Do not quantify into it unless you want to blow up your logic. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more philosophical demolition.